Hey guys, thanks for joining me. In today's practice, if you have a cushion or something similar that you can grab hold of, just bring it in. You might want to use it. Try to be warm and comfortable as much as you can. And then go ahead and either find a cross-legged position with some support, so you can bring things under the knees to help support this, or you could bring the heels of your feet together and knees out wide. And this can be done in a seat or recline, so you could lie backwards. Whatever position you come into, we don't want it to feel too deep. It's just a gentle opening. And bearing in mind that for some people sitting cross-legged, it feels pretty uncomfortable. So that's where you might take the knees a little wider or support. Wherever you come to, let's just close down the eyes and relax the shoulders. Just take a few big breaths. With each breath, feeling this concept of just letting go into your body, into this shape. And then starting to let your attention move towards your hips, trying to feel any sensation here. Maybe your attention has come to the front or the back of the hips. Doesn't matter where it's gone, but just take a moment to let a slightly heavy feeling fall across the hips. So we feel really anchored, feeling a little bit warm here as well. Directing all of your energy, your breath, just to your hips for a moment. When you come to the end of your next breath, slowly start to blink open your eyes. You can, of course, keep them closed if you prefer. If you're upright, give your shoulders a bit of a roll, and if you're reclined, starting to come up and meet in a seated position. I'm just going to extend the right leg out now. So having a nice long right leg, you can once again prop something up underneath that knee. And then pulling the left heel in towards the pelvis, let your knee either just fall towards the ground or once again propped up on a block or a cushion or similar. And then you can pull that heel as close towards the pelvis as you like, and just take a moment to kind of wiggle about here. So maybe a little movement back and forth or side to side. And if you're starting to feel quite uncomfortable already, this is where you would use, again, another cushion or something or a blanket to sit on, which might help. From this position, just going to bring our hands either forward or behind us and just find a bit of length in the spine. Encourage your heart to open, the shoulders to draw back. And take a big breath in and start to move your body forward, so folding over that foot. And being that this might be the first time of the day that you've felt this kind of deep sensation in the hips, just go gentle. So don't go too deep. Just bring your hands forward, but think about pulling your heart towards your hands and draw your shoulders into the body. Just holding here for a few breaths. You might find that actually your hips feel okay. You could come potentially onto an elbow or two. And if you've made a big pillow circle around yourself, I know that I'm mentioning a fair few pillows, you might even want to bring one underneath your elbows. Once you arrive here, similar to our seated pose, just take some time to just feel in, anchor in, connect with the sensation through the hips. That might come into the pelvic floor. You might feel a little bit uneasy here as well. All of these things we feel or come up are totally part of the movements and practices that we do, and we want to feel this stuff. What we're trying not to do is completely disconnect from our bodies. So feel into each sensation, breathe into it if you can. So as intensity might rise, you might deepen your breath. If you're taking more of a restorative approach and trying to just offer the body a little bit of kindness, you might just back off. Softer breath, perhaps. Softer sensation. Maybe you can let your head just hang. Maybe you want to move through your neck. And let's just close our eyes and hold here for another 5 breaths. When you come to the end of your 5th breath, starting to lift up, walk the hands closer to the body, the shoulders, a little bit of movement here, and just pause, feeling that release, that sensation as you come out of the pose. Bring your hands back behind you, letting them connect with the earth, maybe leaning into the hands, opening up through the front of the body. Encourage a bit of height here. Taking a big breath in. Then as you breathe out, just coming back to center, let's take the right hand now over to the left knee. And as we do that, we're going to hold the back of the knee, walk the left hand in a little bit, find a bit of height and rotation as we look over that left shoulder. And take another full breath in. And breathing out, coming back to center. As we do, starting to bring the right hand onto the inside of that right leg. So the hand can just come down. If you have that pillow handy, you might even want to rest your elbow onto the leg, or the pillow, sorry, or the leg is an option. And whatever option we've come into, we can actually support the head. Sliding the left hand up onto the left hip. From here, we can bring the gaze up if that's something our neck wants to do, or just it can feel a bit more comfortable just to bring the gaze down. If we're feeling okay here, maybe dropping the elbow a little lower, but on the inside of the leg. You can still support your head or just let your arm come down. Left arm could even come up towards the ceiling. You bend at that elbow, just bring your forearm around the back of your head. So you could either use your hand on the back of your head or your wrist or your forearm, but just maybe looking down, applying a little bit of pressure with the head into the arm. That elbow lift a little. And just letting your gaze start to soften here. You could even close your eyes. And if it's feeling really intense, just backing off. Or if you're feeling like that is a way that you need to nurture your body, just holding in your space, welcome in that intensity and breathe into it, letting that left hip push towards the ground, opening more through the left side of the body. And holding here for 5 breaths. When you come to the end of your 5th breath, if you can keep your body where it is, releasing your left arm, let's just open it back up and then bringing the left arm just around the small of the back. So a little bend in the elbow, just reaching for that right hip, but not necessarily getting there, just letting the arm come back, lengthen the crown of your head towards the left. Just take another full breath in here. And then bringing your chin a little closer to your chest as you breathe out, push into your right hand, releasing that left hand back behind the hip. Now it might feel a little bit funny, so take your time here, but pointing the right toes, reaching up. Let's find Wild Thing. And you might want to leave your hips grounded. You could float them up. Take a full breath in. And then breathing out, coming back to center. From here, coming back, giving your shoulders a roll, and then bringing the right leg in. So use your hand to help support. Heels of the feet together, knees out wide. Hold on to the fronts of the knees and just find some extension through the front of the body. Take a big breath in. And then take a breath out, roll it backwards, holding onto the knees. Just hang out here for a moment. Dropping your chin, relaxing your shoulders. You might even want to lift your knees a little higher here. See if you can get really curved through the back. One more breath. And slowly coming back up. From here, pulling your right heel in and extending your left leg out. So finding that shape, taking your time to arrive, especially if you're adding props to this. Heel in towards the pelvis and just bringing the hands either forward to open or bringing them behind you just to encourage that space, lifting up. Just taking as long as you need here. You might even want to hold here for the entire time you're in the pose. Or just when you're ready, starting to bring it all forward. So coming onto your hands, thinking of that space and that lengthening, and dropping on to your elbows or whatever cushioning you have available. And always you have options to move in and out of it. What's holding you here? But in this yin practice, we're really trying to find this depth to connection. And it's quite easy to leave the physical body, especially when we get feelings of intensity. So we're going to just try to hold that space for ourselves and build resilience. And really opening up the connective tissue, but more so opening up our ability to move and think in a way that's nurturing, it's not so reactive. It allows us to really be present. The breath is always there as a really valuable tool to help encourage that feeling of being anchored. Just in your own time, your own unique way, allowing the body to fully release tension, expectation. Softening through the hips and the lower back. You could direct your energy there. Starts to get a little bit uncomfortable, feel free to move it around, and ultimately trying to find a little bit of stillness here. And just taking 5 more breaths. When you come to the end of your 5th breath, it's going to slowly start to bring your hands back towards the body. Take your time, give your shoulders a little bit of a wiggle, and then bring your hands behind you, lean back into them, create that space once again, opening up. And then moving into that little twist, so bringing the right hand down, left hand onto the outside of that knee. Just try to open and twist here for a few breaths. You can add a bit of pressure, maybe even flick the hand over. coming back to center. If you want to bring the hands back behind you to really open up, go ahead. And then we're going to take that left hand down onto the inside of the left leg. So the hand can be connected. We can lean the elbow onto the thigh or onto the inside or onto a cushion. The main thing is I'd encourage you to bring that arm more on the inside. Then we're not folding over the leg, we're just trying to get some space in the side of the body. So whatever option we've come into, we might look up if that feels good for the neck. Typically down feels a bit better. And we're just starting to ease into that. Your right hand can just kind of float around or come onto the hip until you're ready. Encouraging that shoulder back. Supporting the head is an option here. Bring the arm up a bit high. Maybe from this position, that arm wants to lift. You can just have it up. Bending at the elbow, the hand on the back of the head, or potentially bringing the forearm on the back of the head. Sometimes the hands can even connect. We want to encourage that elbow back. Like I said before, you might want to look up. Typically speaking, down feels a little bit nicer for the neck. Just trying to once again come back into your body. Try not to get distracted by the things around. Encourage that right hip to get a little closer to the earth. And 5 more breaths. When you come to the end of your 5th breath, just coming up, take the time, feel free to move your neck and shoulders as you come up. Drop your right hand behind you, your hips can stay down, pointing your left toes, maybe sweeping up and finding a wild thing. Just try to move around, maybe in the space, and then bringing your hips all the way back down. Once again, bringing the heels and the feet together, the knees out wide. Once we come back, use your hands to support as much as you need to. Hold on to the knees, lift and lengthen, and then roll it back, hugging in. And once again, the knees can come up or they can stay out wide. Just try to find that balance here. Lean back around the back, dropping the chin. Let's take another full breath in. And out. And slowly rocking back up onto your sit bones. We're going to stay seated. These poses are quite similar, but all really moving into different parts of the body. So we're moving out with both legs now. Now with this, you might really feel the need to sit on something. So grab something to sit on so you get that little pelvic tilt forward, or just bending the knees typically helps, sliding something onto the knees if you like. And then once again, bring the hands behind you, and you can walk the hands back just into a position that feels good for you. Lift and lengthen, squeeze the shoulder blades. Your chest really appreciate this, so letting the head fall back, maybe the chin lift. And this is where you might even choose to stay, or if you want to, bringing your hands forward. Now I'm doing this without a bolster or a cushion just to show you that it's not necessary, but it does make it more comfortable. So bring something that's big and bulky, like a beanbag even works really well in front of you, just to kind of rest on. So your elbows are connected. You can keep your hands down though, and as you do that, really pulling your heart forward. We want to think of coming forward and the belly coming down, more so than that rounding in the back and the head coming down. So whatever option you come into, let's just pull forward. And if you're comfortable, once again coming onto your elbows, use something to prop you up perhaps. Go ahead and do that. Once you find that, I like to clasp my hands and sometimes even bring my hands underneath my jawbone, letting the shoulders pull back and relax. And if you feel like you have just a lot of space in this type of pose, you're always welcome to go a little bit deeper. You can bring your hands down and you'll just start to reach them further forward. And this might actually feel enough, that reaching and that pulling, that nice big lengthening as we tilt the pelvis forward. Another option could be to bring your hands onto your feet and then using your head and your body to come down, you can rest your chest, your chin, everything onto the ground. You're just taking an option that feels good in your body. And come back to your breath. Come back to that sensation. Anchor your hips. This real central point in the body that we move pretty much everything from. And so we want to move them and stretch them and nurture them in all of these directions that they would naturally be put into. But of course, the physical rewards of this practice is just part of it. And holding here for 5 more breaths. And slowly, when you come to the end of your 5th breath, just coming up, bending the knees, using your hands to help support, bringing the feet a little closer, grounding both feet, knees up towards the ceiling, bring your hands behind you, once again opening up through the chest, and just dropping knees from side to side. And this time when you drop your knees over to the right, see if you can leave them there. Lift up the right foot and bring it on top of the left knee perhaps. Add a little bit of a push. Lean back into the hands. Push the hips to the right perhaps. And then coming back to center, grounding the right foot. Lifting the knees, taking them over to the left. Pushing the pelvis, maybe hooking that left foot on top of the right knee. And slowly coming back to center. You can move a bit more dynamically if that feels good. And we're going to take ourselves onto our back. So from here, hugging your knees in, just rolling from side to side, or you might actually feel inclined to make some really big circles. And you drop knees over to one side and then the other. And then coming into a little happy baby, you hold the insides of your feet, knees out wide, potentially straightening one leg. And then the other, or maybe both. Holding here for just a couple of breaths. Once again, hips are the focus. We're really wanting to feel that connection to the earth right now. So pushing your tailbone downwards. And slowly bring your knees back in. Once again, little movements. Maybe you could add in a little bit of a twist here. Take your knees to one side. And then take them over to the other. Feet just land. It doesn't need to be a big twist. Then just set your body up for Shavasana. Extending here. Let the legs go long. If you do have a bolster at home or a big cushion, just sliding it underneath your knees. Maybe you want to take Shavasana in a different position, or maybe the time just doesn't allow for it. This is the part we tend to rush. From a yogic perspective though, it's definitely the part we shouldn't be rushing. We should be trying to find time for stillness, for meditation, whenever we can. It's just the society we live in doesn't really reward doing nothing or lying around. the tendency is to get up and move. And as you lie here, I'll really encourage you once again to feel that depth in the hips. Feel supported, heavy, anchored. Let everything start to feel like it's connecting with the ground a little more with each breath. Just slowly letting your body a little more relaxed with each breath. And I'll just encourage you to stay here as long as you can. This is where I will sign off, however. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Any questions or feedback, you know how to find me. Namaste.